I'm going to start our broadcast. I'm going to bring in live everyone else who's going to be listening into the presentation today, okay? Thank you, and here we go.
All right, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today for our certification panel. Just wanted to introduce our speakers that we have here that have gone through the certified program. And as I kind of go around the horn, so to speak, here, if you don't mind, maybe providing a little background on your careers to this point, and then we'll get a little bit more in detail with some of the certification stuff. And before I get that, just from a statistical standpoint, just to give everyone a little bit of an idea, the certified professional program was started in 2004, and to this point, there's been 1,335 PGA professionals that have completed the certification program. That equates to 2,300 certifications. Several PGA members have completed more than one certification, and I would say that this certainly has evolved over time. PGA of America is very committed in what is really being called right now lifelong learning, and it's really the idea of setting up more of a specialized path that allows PGA members to kind of grow through their career in very specific areas of their career path throughout their lifetime. And not only is the intention that would help personally from a development standpoint, but also professionally, both in terms of acquiring jobs as well as compensation in those particular jobs. So with our panel today, we have Julie Karss, is the PGA head professional at Kelly Green's Country Club. Julie, welcome, and maybe you can give a little background on your career to this point.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. And just a little bit about myself. I've become a PGA member in 2011. Held the assistant positions at various clubs, and grew to the first assistant professional at Old Hickory, then the head golf professional at Old Hickory, and then now the head golf professional at Kelly Green's. I've always had an interest in becoming a general manager at a club one day, and that's kind of the direction I went with the specialized program, and that's why we're here to discuss it today.
All right, well, great. Julie's husband, David's a PGA member as well, so Julie, great to have you on. Speaking of Old Hickory, Brandon Motley, the PGA Director of Golf at Old Hickory. Welcome, Brandon, and maybe you can give a few comments on your career as well.
Yes, to echo Julie, I'm really excited and appreciate the opportunity to speak today on certifications. It's something I'm pretty passionate about. I started my golf career a little late in life. I had a different career prior, and when I got into the business, I was fortunate enough to acquire a position at Quail West here in Naples, and I worked my way up to first assistant. And then I moved on from Quail West to Old Hickory as the director of golf, and currently I've been there almost 6 years now. I'm certified in golf operations and also gone through the TPI certifications, and I'm a master coach for Golf Fitness X, which is affiliated with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness.
All right, great. Thanks, Brandon. And our third panelist here, Jim Lobaur, who is new to the section, and I think that we'll have some great commentary on how this has helped really kind of from the employment side of things, because you've most recently just gone through this, but currently the PGA head professional at the Coral Creek Club, and most recently spent time in the Carolina section, was a board member there. So Jim, welcome to South Florida, and maybe you can provide a little background on your career.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you guys having me on. I've been a PGA member since 2000. gained all the certifications back in 2008 and 2009. Was one of the first to kind of go through all those and get them all, but became a master professional in 2012. So I, like Michael, have also gotten TPI certified. I mean, education has always been a huge thing for me, and I've been driven to get to the highest levels wherever I can. So I am, as Jeff noted, fairly new to the section, came on board November of last year, Coral Creek, but have experience in North Florida section and Carolina section, served on boards in both of those, and just kind of served in a head professional or director of golf role primarily over the last 20 to 21 years. So just glad to give a little insight, share a little experience, and help wherever I can.
Great. Jim, why don't we go ahead and start with you? And I think the first question, and a very basic one really, is why did you choose to really go through all the certifications all the way to Mastery?
Yeah, well, gaining my Class A, I think I was 22 or 23, so not much out of college. I just knew at an early age I was just driven to be the best professional that I could. And the first thing I looked at was, what's the pillar to get to the top, right? I always knew about a master professional, and, when you just get your Class A, you see it as a pinnacle, but how do I get there? And, obviously at the time there was minimum requirements to even get into certification and certainly master professional, but, I would just say it was my passion behind it. I've just always been motivated to be the best that I can and achieve, greatness in my profession. So it was just a driver for me, and I figured just coming out of that college mode, I would kind of stay motivated there and just further my career.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jim. Brandon, how about you?
Well, I had a great mentor who told me as I was coming up early on at Quell West that, look where you want to be and the people who are there and what is it that they did to accomplish those goals. And the common thread with all those that are successful that I strive to be like, it was education, continuing education, becoming the broadest golf professional that they could possibly be. And that was the driving force for me, is that I know that education and having those is distinguish myself and those that I want to emulate and try to become really set us apart.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Julie?
So, with what Brandon said and Jim said, I mean, Brandon's been a mentor to me. And so going with what he said, exactly continuing that education and go in the direction of where you eventually want to be. So that is, why I pursued the executive management, because that's the direction I want to go. And I think with all the certifications that there are out there, there's something that you can take from each of them that you can apply to almost any direction you want to go. But I think it's definitely important, and it helps set you apart from maybe someone else who's going for that same position, and they might look at you a little bit more by knowing that you continued your education and, you want to keep moving forward. So.
Yeah, great. I want to shift back to Jim. I'm going to come back to you on this with regard to employment, because you most recently have gone through this. How do you think the education that you've obtained above and beyond just being a PGA member helped you in your employment search in your new position?
Yeah, great question. I went through a series of interviews at a variety of clubs and ultimately trying to find the best fit. There's no doubt in my mind that the certifications and even more specifically the master professional status, without a doubt, separated me within the candidates. I mean, you're talking about Coral Creek. We had over 200 applicants go for the job. I mean, it was several months to go through the process and, numerous steps. So any which way that I could find to separate myself outside of my skill set was what I was looking to do. So I'm living proof that, and after talking to my GM, post-search and post-hire, he said, you were the only master professional in the final candidate mix. So I knew that I had, feather in my cap, and it was just up to me to sell it from there. So it definitely was a benefit.
Yeah, I mean, what a strong statement there for the general manager to say that after the fact. I've certainly been involved in employment searches for several years now, and it is always something that comes up with committees ask us about, what's this mean? Why is this person a master professional, and this person isn't? What's it take to become that? So I think that's great proof from Jim that it was relevant in his search. I can tell you from sitting in those closed door rooms with those committees, it certainly does mean something to these committees, that education. So, Brandon, how about your current place of employment and how maybe that these certifications have helped, whether it be strengthen your current role at your facility or potentially even tied into hopefully some compensation changes as well.
For me, my experience, the more education that I have obtained and the certifications, the better I've been able to serve my membership. And one of the things that was a really nice touch when I finished the certification, they asked for the contact information of your general manager, your green golf committee chairs, the president of the board, and they sent a really well-written letter, very flattering letter. And what that did is it brought some pride to my members that they can say, look, my golf professional is now in 8% of the certified golf pros in the country. So that gave me a lot of leverage when it came time to negotiate a little bit more, at the end of our fiscal years. So from a compensation standpoint, but more importantly, it brings a sense of pride to our club members. And again, that education helps us provide better service and experiences for our members.
Yeah, great. That's a great testimony to what's happened there. Julie, how about you? You've also have not real recently, but recently gone through the employment change and search for new employment. Was that important in that switch for you?
Absolutely. I think just having the description after your name definitely helps those that are in the hiring process, to learn more about you and why you went through those programs. But, we're all in leadership roles in one form or another, and that's been the most value, that I've seen. You become a better leader amongst your members, and then you become a better leader amongst your staff. So these programs have definitely helped and, be able to, process difficult situations and then rise above and make the overall experience the best it can be for both the members and the staff. And then you can show that and prove that during the interviewing process as well. And, they can see that just having that little bit of extra education, can make a difference.
Yeah, great. I don't have to explain to anybody on this presentation right now how busy your all's lives are in your positions. Brandon, how did you personally go about balancing the time it took to go through this education while still balancing everything you have to do at your place of employment and hopefully some sort of personal life?
Well, I strategically planned going through the process during the summer months for us down here in South Florida. This is our quiet time. And, I made sure that I allotted time frame each day to make sure I progressed in a timely manner with the certification. But yeah, it was a matter of just being efficient with time. And I think we're all, as golf professionals, very well equipped at managing our time. And it's not something that I want to tackle in January through March. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and there's certainly some minimum requirements, and I don't know if you track this, and my guess is probably you may not have tracked this, but is there a way to put a number on the amount of hours that you dedicated to it?
I would say it was probably close to 60. Okay. I'm ballparking a little bit, but I believe by the time you make your way through the videos and you do the virtual part, those simulations, that was very, very well done. I enjoyed doing those. And then the time to complete the project at the end, yeah, I would say it's close to 60, 65 hours.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add for everyone here too is that if you start into the certification process, there is a lot of previous activities that you probably were all involved in that you could potentially get credit for when you go through the process. Examples could be somebody that maybe has an advanced degree in college where you can get credit. So for any of you on this call that are considering that, reach out to us so that we can get you in contact with those at PGA of America, and they really kind of go through. We'll go through a little bit of an interview process with you, so to speak, to figure out maybe what you've done in areas where you might be able to get credit. Jim, how about you from a time balance standpoint and completing all the education that you've completed?
Yeah, well, I just pride myself in getting better and better at time management over time, and there's no doubt there's peak parts of the season that you really don't want to meddle with it, but for me I just had to set goals for myself. I remember going through some of the certifications. I partnered with another PGA professional, and we kind of motivated each other. So we kind of set our own little goals and challenges within ourselves. But it was really just allocating little nuggets of time and trying to not get too many lapses in between. I mean, the more I kept it fresh and in my mind, and it just kept me on point. But I think the starting point is evaluating your schedule as a whole and your family life and saying, all right, where do I have the best window of time? Because, as Brandon mentioned, it's a large number of hours to put into it. And depending on where you go, if it goes beyond certification to master professional, you're talking about an even greater amount of time. So, find the window of opportunity for you that makes sense, and really, number one, set some small goals and some larger goals, but the key is to just keep it fresh and keep it moving, and don't let a lot of time lapse in between.
Julie, how about you?
Sam, I agree with Jim, kind of setting those goals. I think when I went through it, I looked at the program overall and kind of said, okay, by Wednesday, I want to have the first 3 videos done, or, and kind of went through it that way. And that way I just kept moving. So each, day, whether it was each day or, every couple of days, I would still have a couple of videos done. Also went through the program during the off season. So I was able to kind of use the afternoons, the quiet times to work through the program. So it wasn't too bad as far as managing the time. But yeah, it's like Jim said, you just have to keep it going and keep it fresh because it's, as we all know, if you do, get away from it for a little bit, sometimes it's hard to get back in. So you just got to keep working through it and keep going.
Yeah, Julie, if someone on this call right now was hesitant as to whether or not they wanted to start through this process, what would be the advice you would offer?
Oh, I mean, I think it's definitely beneficial. If you're hesitant, just look at it overall. Even by listening to us, and we know how much it's helped our careers. It can only benefit you. It definitely can't hinder you in any way. So if you're looking to keep moving in a certain direction, whether it's teaching, management, or not, if you whatever you want to do, it's only going to help you. With your staffing, with your managing members, with events, it's only a plus. That's for sure. Education's always a plus.
Yeah, Jim, how about you? How would you? What advice would you offer to somebody who's potentially hesitant about it?
I just ask that person, to evaluate what's important to them in their lives and in their career path, and any way that you can separate yourself as a professional in whatever industry you're in is going to be beneficial. So, you've just you got to be all in. I think anybody on the fence, talk to mentors, talk to people that you trust and have been through it. Talk to more than one. And they'll give you each their own unique perspective on it and how it's benefited them in their lives. Maybe even ask the right questions. how did you go through it? The things that we're talking about today. The more people you talk to, I think it'll either guide you into being all in and doing it, or maybe it's not for you. But just remain committed, set goals, and as we're all saying, there's been tremendous benefits and fruits to our labor to it. So I would easily do it over again if I had to.
Yeah, and I'm going to come back to you on one of the things you said there. I want to jump to Brandon before I forget, because I'm looking at the chat window. It's empty right now. But if anybody on the call has anything that they want to ask, whether it be to the panelists, myself, or something about the program, please go ahead and put that in the chat. And if we don't have the answer, we will certainly follow up with you and provide an answer to your question. But put that in there at any point. But Brandon, from your standpoint, advice to someone who may be hesitant about starting this?
Well, everything Jim and Julie said, I would also make sure that I was clear on those points too. But two other things, we talk about how we want to separate and differentiate ourselves. I look at it as branding. How do we want to brand ourselves as individuals, as a PGA professional? And this is one way of doing it. And then additionally, it is a lot of MSR points. So if you're somebody that can't travel a lot, or maybe you're one of those younger assistants where you're not making that salary and the club may not be giving you the expenses to travel and do all the other seminars, this is a really inexpensive and I believe more of a time efficient way to obtain those MSR points on top of everything else that Julie and Jim had already mentioned.
Yeah, great. Jim, one of the pieces of advice that you just offered was talking to others. Maybe you can provide some background on when you got started. Were there some others that you went to first to kind of get their opinion and input before you even got started in the process?
Yeah, for sure. So, for me, obviously, I went through two steps of this, where I went through certifications and ultimately took it to a master professional level. So I was still relatively early in my career on the certification. It had only been in existence for a couple of years. So I easily kind of drove myself through that. When it got to the point of taking it to the next level of master professional, that's where I really tried to identify with a few key mentors. And it was quite a rigorous journey, a very rewarding one, but I had a few bumps in the road along the way. And I had a great mentor in Bill Hughes. Many of you may know him, a longtime master professional, and he just kind of laid it out for me, and probably the strongest motivator for me to just get it done and stay passionate and driven behind it. But certainly it helps to have a support team. So whether it's one key mentor or 4 or 5, I think each section, the PGA has plenty of mentor resources. People have had different journeys on how they get there. And, it's just connecting with people that you trust and will help you get through it.
Yeah, great. Julie, you've already talked about one of your mentors in all this has been Brandon. So I'm assuming you talked to him before getting started. But was that important to you in reaching out to kind of get validation from those that have gone through it that you were going to embark on the right step?
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see, because when I worked with Brandon, he was going through one of the certifications, and that motivated me to go through the certification. And we kind of talked openly about it, and it was just nice to have that support and to go through it, and it was rewarding. So I think it's definitely important to talk to someone who's had it or a mentor and let them help guide you and support you, and it's always a good thing to have, that's for sure.
So Brandon, your question, I guess, would be twofold. One on the front end, thoughts on seeking out that validation in advance of starting this, but you've also carried this the next step in mentoring and encouraging others within your teamwork and your kind of family tree, so to speak, to do this themselves. So maybe you can expound on both of those.
Yes, early on in my career, I was fortunate enough to obtain a great mentor in John Gardner. He's a PGA general manager at Quell West, and he's accomplished a lot in his career and completed a lot of certifications. So he really pushed me in that direction. And again, he was the one that told me, he's like, look, where do you want to be? And look at how others have gotten there. And then he was always encouraging me in doing it. So I try to instill that with everyone that I can help with. It's in my progression through my career, one of my top priorities now has been to help those that I can, which is why I'm in the golf business in general. I really like to help people. And so when I went through it and I saw what the benefits could be, I was very adamant to Julie that, this is something that will be beneficial for your career, and helping those that I can't. I just it's very rewarding on many different facets. So and then you get kind of proud of those that you help that accomplish like what Julie has.
So Jim, most of our conversation to this point has been more kind of results and outcomes. I've obtained this, so it's allowed me to do this. Can you talk a little bit about just the process and what learning the content and absorbing the content as opposed to just checking a box that's saying I've done this and it will help me get from point A to point B?
Yeah, certainly. What you put in is what you get out of it. So if it's your goal just to whiz through it as fast as possible, you're likely not going to absorb the material like you really should and gain the value of what that certification really means and how it'll benefit your career. So, as much as I was motivated and I continue to be motivated to get through things in a timely manner, I want to do it efficiently and I wanted to get the value out of it. So, again, I'm a big goal setter. I try and get motivated by others and just, be sensible about it. I think, we're all working within seasons down here, especially. So, figure out your time window, set specific goals, but, don't just fly through it as fast as you can. Try and make sure you understand the material, you get the benefits out of it so that you can truly apply it to what you're doing at your host facility.
Yeah, same question there for you, Brandon, and as opposed to having the result of the certification that you can put on a resume. What about the content as you went through it, and how has that helped you?
One of the big benefits for me is I think all of us at times we get in our little bubble of our own operation, and we can sort of get one mind tracked. Even though that's not our intention, it's easy to be on that single-minded track. And when I go through these certifications, it kind of opens my eyes to my operation and my procedures and everything, and how it makes me look at it from a different angle, which in turn keeps my operation and staff not complacent, but also, not, again, just thinking one way. And it makes for the overall and benefit of the certification and education passed on to our members, because, again, we're not stuck in that rut of how we've been doing it.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Julie?
Right. I think the content in the certifications is definitely relatable. There's things that out that you're like, wow, I could do this in my facility, or, next time I hire this person, this is how I'm going to, bring them on board, so different things that you can definitely relate to and then apply. So like Jim was saying, yeah, you don't want to just rush through it and, check the boxes, but it's definitely content that you can absorb and apply. So that's important, going through this. It's not just, like I said, a name after an education point after your name. It's, there is information to apply, which is great.
Yeah, there's just as there's no two golf swings alike, there's kind of no two ways of doing things. So I think so much in the golf industry is kind of OJT, on the job learning, and
Right.
We all are framed by the experiences that we've had. One of the questions that would be curious to me, and we'll start with you, Brandon, is that you already an experienced PGA professional. You go into this, you already kind of know how to do certain things. How did the content match up with just your experiences that you've gone through, and then how are you able to, kind of use that content and take that content to improve your experiences?
It matched up very well, and it was very relatable, as Julie was discussing. And going back to my previous statement, when especially going through the simulation part of the certification, it just makes your mind open up to trying something that maybe you hadn't done in the past, or just triggers another train of thought to where it takes you down a path that otherwise you probably wouldn't, or I may not have. It might have taken longer to go down that path. So it just keeps your mind sharp. I think it's very relatable, and it enabled me to just further my operation into the direction that the membership really wanted.
Yeah, great. That word, that relatable word, is one that I guess is great to hear. We'll go to you on that, Jim. Somebody that's had a lot of experience and had certain ways of doing things, and then getting this education. How did that kind of meld in with the experiences that you've had?
Well, again, I think it just the whole process just takes a deeper dive into what we do as golf professionals, and you have the opportunity to choose specific paths. It's a great achievement, a great milestone for everybody to get their Class A and become a PGA professional, but it's pretty much a vanilla kind of generic avenue that gives you broad experience. This is an opportunity to really, as I said, take a deeper dive, very specific path, and you're going to gain expertise, just get you thinking outside the box, open your eyes to new perspectives, new ideas, some freshness that you can bring to your current position and your facilities that can separate you and just create better member experiences.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Julie, kind of same question here is from the content that you received through the certification program. How did that kind of match up with so many of the experiences that you've had as a golf professional?
A lot of the content that I really absorbed was really on the leadership aspect. You're always looked at as a leader, and you want to strive to be a great leader. And I learned to lead by example. That's one of the things that I learned quite a bit about, and just how to manage different scenarios, whether it's maybe a disruptive staff or maybe a member situation that might be a little bit tough, but there's a way that you always got to remember, you are the leader, and lead by example, and gain the respect, from your staff, and just some of those things. And I mean, it goes a lot deeper than that, but that's what kind of stands out to me, through that program. And I think about it often, of course, and it's just kind of always that little bell in my head, to keep striving for.
So, Brandon, we all have expectations of anything that we do, and with respect to this and expectations that you had going into the process, how did this match with the expectations that you'd set?
I think it matched and also surpassed in several aspects. It was more comprehensive than I thought it would be in regards to the detail, and then also the impact that it would have afterwards, as I was speaking of earlier, with the notifications to those that I report to, like my general manager or the board of directors. And I really can't overstate how impactful that was to my members, because then it shows that I'm trying to improve myself, and then in turn improve their outcome and the experiences and services that we provide.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. How about you? Expectations going in versus what you received?
Yeah, honestly, I think you never know what to expect going into it. I mean, you have the intentions that I'm going to get greater knowledge and greater depth to certain subject matter. But kind of to Brandon's point, it certainly exceeded it. It was definitely comprehensive, but most importantly, kind of echoing what he said, the one aspect I didn't go into this thinking about, but the aftermath is how it impacts your position at your facility, how your peers look at you, how your members look at you, how your family members look at you. I mean, I think it just demonstrates, a whole nother level of expertise, of respect, and just incredible value. You're just raising your stock value in so many ways. So, that was probably the pleasantry that came from this, that I didn't go in with that expectation, but coming out of it really just enhanced it even more for me.
Yeah, great. Julie, what about you from the expectations you had of what you were going to get into versus the outcomes?
Sure. I think Jim and Brandon said it best. Yeah, you go in it, just thinking, okay, I'm going to do this, and then as you're going through it and after you, finish the final report and everything and you're all done, it kind of, and then people start hearing about it and now you can put it on your resume, and it's just, like you said, the aftermath is more impactful, and you don't really realize it, I don't think, once you start going through it, but it's definitely helped, and like both of them said, is surpassed the expectations, so, which is good.
Good. Julie, we'll stay with you. I'll admit this question is going to be selfish from the section standpoint, and more so just want some input from certified professionals here. Is the association on the back end of this doing enough to promote what you all have done in so doing, kind of helping your career? Is there any opportunities that the association could do a better job of telling the story?
I think this today has helped, for those that have tuned in, and honestly, I think it's up to the professionals to, educate their staff and be that mentor and try to get them to understand, hey, I did this, let's do this, let's get you to be a better professional or more education. And so I think it's, you can only promote it so much, I think, but I think it's up to the professionals to really help spread the word and, be that mentor and want to keep pushing the staff and other fellow pros and to, keep the education going. So. Yeah,
thanks. And Brandon, you've mentioned this a couple of times, and it's great that letter that went from the association to the folks at the club to talk about what you've just gone through. Are there other things that the association could do, whether that be national? When I say selfish, I guess thinking more so from our section standpoint, are there things that we could do that would even help enhance that letter even more?
Well, like Julie said, this is a great avenue. I think if you could get more of us together like this and we can share our experiences, it's more impactful. I think the fear of the unknown a lot of times deter people from doing things. And if you have somebody and I'll go, echo what Julie was saying, you have a mentor that's been through it, they can more adequately explain what to expect and ease that tension you may have because of the fear of the unknown. So the more that we can do this, and then as individuals, we can continue to promote it ourselves, and the benefits to those that we come in contact with, I believe are the best options to grow it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jim. You've been in a few different sections and a leadership role in those particular sections, so you might have some unique thoughts on this. But are there things that the association, and more so the section, can do on the back end of this to help demonstrate the value of what you've just gone through?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, I kind of look at it honestly from three different avenues. Certainly starts with grassroots campaign within our PGA professionals, just making sure they're aware of what these certifications are and how to advance themselves. So I think there's that platform within each section. I think we could always do a little bit better job of creating more and more mentors. There's plenty of professionals like myself that would love to get involved, stay involved, and help in any way we can. And we love to share relatable experiences. And if it can benefit 1 member or 50 members, we want to be able to do that. So I think that's one avenue that I think the section and national could always continue to improve upon and promote. Second would be facility knowledge. I think, rooting back to a question you asked me earlier about going through interviews and that, one great thing that I was asked early on in the face-to-face interviews was the GM asked me to tell the panel, which was members primarily, what is a master professional? What does that mean? What was the process? And I was so thankful that he asked me that question. So it's just any way we can to update facilities and let them know, let general managers know if they're not PGA, what these certifications are, a master professional, and the benefits and the value. And then the third component, it kind of intertwines with it, is just making sure, and I have no doubts that we do this, but making sure the career consultants throughout the country are well versed in these specialties and certifications and master professional, because they're on the front lines trying to get more and more clubs to utilize services and get some employment out there. And they need to really stress the stock value of the significance of what this means and how it can separate certain candidates and really help tell the story to general managers and clubs and club presidents that may not know about it or what it means. That, this is a great avenue to get the best talent possible.
Yeah, some really great lead behinds there. Just from being involved in employment searches as much as I have been over the last several years, I wrote that down because we offer sample questions to committees to ask, and what better sample question than that to get somebody talking about what they've done from that respect. So definitely some good stuff there. From a compensation standpoint, and certainly not asking for specifics, but has one of the outcomes been that you've been able to see compensation increases specifically because of this? I think that's the one difficult thing over time that maybe is difficult to measure. I mean, we have some measurements on this based on compensation levels of professionals that have certain certifications. But Julie, from your standpoint at your facility, has the certification been able to help you in that regard?
I don't know if they looked at the certification and said, oh, we're going to, do X, Y, Z, but I think just me being able to be a better professional because of the education has allowed for maybe better compensation. I guess, I'm able to, better myself, which I can give to the members and the overall experience of the club, which then reflects onto the manager and then so on. So I would say in that avenue, that has helped where I'm at now in my career.
Yeah, great. That's why I say it's difficult to measure, because it's strengthened your knowledge base, which in turn has strengthened your position, which in turn has strengthened your profile that hopefully shows in compensation increases. But Brandon, are there any specifics that you could tie to, or is it more general as we're talking with Julie?
It's more general when it applies to the golf operations certification that I went through. It did give me another, arrow in the quiver when it came time to negotiate the fiscal year's, new fiscal year salary. Other certifications that I've gone through has allowed me to increase from an instructional standpoint, those rates, because of the knowledge that I've gained that they can't get from other professionals locally.
Yeah, great. Jim, how about you?
Yeah, Brandon hit the nail on the head there. I mean, those of us that have gone through it from a teaching and coaching standpoint, there's no question it raises your stock value and what you can easily charge for lessons, because you're demonstrating a whole nother level of expertise. So no doubt compensation went considerably up in that regard. But, if it's not within teaching and coaching and it's golf ops or executive management or whatever you're doing, I mean, probably depends on your facility. I know when I was going through some of the certifications, I was very, very small rewards, but they gave me a little monetary reward for getting through it. I think it was already noted, your stock value, your leverage when it comes time to a year-end review. certainly rises, gives you a little bit more, again, leverage to kind of go to that committee or your GM or whoever your lead or your boss is, and command a little bit more if they're able to. So it's definitely going to help in a variety of areas.
Let me stay with you there, Jim. Is there a way that I know we talked about it, with the career consultants and the committees, is there a way that the association could help that? One thing I've learned in being involved in section operations and around PGA professionals for 25 years is PGA professionals in general are not very good at talking about themselves. They're incredibly humble as a group, and they'll go into their general manager and they'll do everything they can to get increased compensation for everybody on their team, but they probably won't talk about themselves. Is there a way that the association could fill a void there?
Ooh, well, again, it kind of ties back to my point. The career consultant is the direct liaison to the club president, whoever's running that search, or if it's a search committee. So it's really, I put a lot of emphasis on those individuals to help kind of sell that value and make sure they understand. So even from a compensation profile, I think any way that the association can further distinguish certain accolades like that and how it applies to compensation to other professionals, I think certainly helps. But any which way that the career consultant can kind of help sell that a little bit is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, great. Brandon, any thoughts on that? I know that's probably a tough question to answer, but I would say that's also selfish in nature too, that if it's some way that we could improve services to PGA members, we want to try. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really like what Jim said about educating if you don't have a PGA general manager, they're less likely to understand what these certifications mean and the value that they bring to the club that they're overseeing. So reaching out to the general manager, and they hear another voice of that is emphasizing the value of this, maybe that'll persuade them more and have a better understanding when it comes time to evaluate for compensation.
Yeah, great. Julie, any further thoughts that you would have on that?
No, I think Jim and Brandon explained it pretty good, but yeah, I agree with what they said as far as just kind of educating, those that are doing the search, on what it takes to get these certifications and what it means and what the value is to the operation. So it's important.
Yeah, well, great. Well, like I said, some of that is selfish in our nature and trying to figure out ways that, because I know it's a sacrifice that all of you went through that you would do again from the sounds of it. We want to make sure that we can do everything we can to assist that. So I'll kind of go around the screen here and let everybody kind of have a few closing thoughts. We don't really have anything that has come into chat. I think I'll save maybe some of my comments here for the end. So maybe just anything maybe we haven't touched on or anything that you might want to add in closing to what we've talked about here. Why don't we start with you, Brandon?
I think we covered a lot today, and the one thing that I would encourage those that are, as you asked earlier, on the fence, is go talk to those that make the decision financially. I know a lot of times that is a big issue with those that may be hesitant to do it, is especially for those younger assistants that are, having built up themselves in their career where they're making a lot of money. We all know, we were all there. It can be tough financially coming up through the business. And really talk to your head professional director, golf general manager, and work in, these clubs. They need to understand that these educational opportunities only benefit the club, and it's really beneficial for those that may financially need the help. So go talk to those above and get them into the budgeting process. That education is important.
Julie? How about you for any closing comments, anything that maybe we haven't touched on that you wanted to add?
Sure, absolutely. I think, again, what Brandon said, don't be afraid to talk to anybody, even if it's not even someone in the, in the golf department. There might be someone, that you look to in another department I'm sure there's education programs that they do in their department, and, they can, kind of help you as well. So I think there's always someone out there, that you can go to and, just get more familiar with the process and, and see what the club has to offer. And it's kind of one of those things, if you're never going to know unless you ask, so it's okay. The worst they can say is no, and then you go try something else. So, but yeah, I would just, don't be afraid to ask, and you never know what the outcome could be. So.
Yeah, great. Jim?
I'm probably somewhat echoing what they said, but I'm a strong believer in finding great mentors, just in every aspect of life. And it's no different here in finding a professional path or certification. So utilize any resources possible, make some calls, anything that I know any of us that are on this panel are glad to help. I mean, our doors are always open, but find great mentors to help guide you and really push you. Sometimes we all need a little bit of a nudge, and if we're on the fence or we're a little hesitant, that mentor is more than likely going to, help encourage you to go down the path for better success. So that would be my bit of advice, and just a strong emphasis on finding a good support team around you, and those that have been through it, or just great mentors in general that'll kind of listen to you and help guide you through your goals and through the process.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. A few closing comments that I would have, and maybe some observations. One is, and Brandon touched on this, from an expense standpoint, this is incredibly reasonable. It's $350 to go through it. So hopefully the facilities would see the value that would come from that. More information when Jackie sends out some information afterwards. She'll include some links to pga.org, which will talk about the lifelong learning strategy and what's available, and really kind of break it down a little bit. I think that three kind of unique to each person highlights that stuck out to me in this conversation today, which shows you that everybody can get maybe a little bit something different out of this while still getting very similar outcomes. Julie, one of the things that Julie talked about that stuck out to me was how this has helped her become a better leader in what she's doing in her organization. And one of the things that stuck out that Brandon said is his ability to provide better services and programs to his members was another area that stood out. And then based on the comments from the general manager, back to you, Jim, it was certainly critical in you obtaining the position that you have. So three very, very different outcomes from this program that are all incredibly relevant to each individual person. So there's a lot that's available here, and we appreciate the three of you being on here. And I know PGA members, that the golf industry is a little unique in this way, as PGA members will help the person down the street that potentially may be competing against them in some way, and it's just the uniqueness of this organization that we have. So this group is always available, and if anybody on the call or the presentation today has any questions, or any maybe you need help in finding a mentor that maybe is closer to where your place of employment is, we can certainly assist in that regard too. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to sit in today. And if you have any follow-ups after the fact, please don't hesitate to reach out. And some of the notes that we took down here on how we can help this going forward, we certainly will, because you three are certainly testaments that this program has helped you. So thanks again for being here today, and look for more information to come from Jackie by email soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep, thank you. Thank you very much.